Hello, my name is Dr. Abby Lloyd. I am the Clarinet professor at Texas A&M International University in Laredo, Texas. And today I'd like to give you some tips, some pointers that will help you prepare for the 2020-2021 All-State Band auditions. First, I'm going to start by playing through some of the excerpts, and then I'll go ahead and give you some tips. Let's talk about some performance tips. With the first etude, Etude number 36, I recommend listening to violin recordings of the work. Many of the Rose etudes were originally composed for violin and then arranged and compiled in clarinet etude books. So looking back at how violinists play this etude can help inform your style. One really great recording that's available on YouTube is by Nathan Cole, a violinist in the LA Phil, and it's titled Mazza's Etude number 23, Opus 36. So I would really recommend looking that up and taking a listen. Now realize that the articulations may be a little different in the violin version. Just listen to it to inform your style, but make sure you're still playing the correct articulation as written. Second, I want to talk about the eighth note staccato articulation. It's really important that we keep these very consistent. So I would recommend not puffing your air on these staccato eighth notes, not puffing from your diaphragm, but instead using stopped articulation, using the tongue to stop the air on the reed, but keep the air going the whole time. This will give you more of a consistent and bouncy sound. Okay, and my third point, there are some pretty tricky passages in this etude when it comes to the octave slurs. So when in doubt, blow more air. Sometimes we get to these areas where the technique gets difficult and we back off on the air. We don't want to do that. We want to push more air when in doubt. When the technique gets hard, blow more air. That will help you get through the passages. Now the slow etude, etude number 32, it's really important that you accurately count your rhythms. So many times I hear clarinetists come into the audition room and they start out okay with the rhythm, but then they lose track of whether they're counting the eighth note as the beat or the quarter note as the beat. We don't want to do that because then our rhythm will be incorrect. What we do want to do is start out practicing with the eighth note as the beat, and once we feel comfortable and secure that we are playing all the correct rhythms, we can then move into the quarter note as the beat. But don't confuse the two, because then you'll have inaccurate rhythms. It is also important to practice this without a metronome, because there are places where you will take rubato, and that's very important. But as you take rubato, make sure you do not lose track of the pulse. Second, we want to make sure that we strive for as smooth of a legato as we can. We have many slurs and leaps that are slurred throughout this etude, and we want them to be connected. When you're practicing this etude, if there is for any reason a disconnect over a slur, stop and work on that interval. This legato and a smooth legato will really make this etude sound much better. Finally, when you're working on this etude, think about both micro and macro phrasing. So what do I mean by that? I mean, think about the big picture. Think about the loudest parts of the entire etude, where it is most dramatic. Have a plan for how you're going to use your dynamics. But also think about the small phrases, the 2-bar phrases, the 4-bar phrases, the 8-bar phrases. How will you use your dynamics there? Having a plan is much better than just winging it when it comes to phrasing, and the judge will really be able to tell if you thought this out or not. With the final etude, etude number 24, it is really important that we keep the 16th notes even. Sometimes when clarinet players play this, they will rock the 16th notes within the beat. They might go duba, duba, duba because of the articulation and how it connects the first two and the last two of the beat. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that all the 16th notes are given the same value throughout the entire etude. We also want to make sure that we don't sound machine-like, machine gun-like, when we play the repeated 16th notes. The main theme of this has 4 16th notes that are repeated in a row. And if we don't add any dynamic change, such as a small crescendo or a small decrescendo to those repeated notes, it will sound machine gun-like. So think about that as you practice and try to add that in. so that you don't sound like a machine. Finally, this etude goes quite far without the chance to breathe. So this may seem obvious, but a lot of players don't do this. When you have the chance to breathe, make sure you fill up your lungs entirely. You take a deep breath. That includes before you even begin. Lots of times we get nervous and we don't fill up our lungs at the beginning. We need to do that to make sure that we have the air to get through the entire etude. And then every time we have a rest, relax. Take a deep breath from your low diaphragm, fill up your entire lungs. This will help keep your mind from getting foggy from lack of air, and it will help you get through the phrases. Now I want to talk about some general practice tips. First of all, it's really important that you record yourself every time or almost every time you have a practice session. It's really easy to record yourself nowadays with your phone or your iPad. And if you listen back to these recordings, it'll give you some really valuable feedback on how you can improve next time you practice. Next, practice with and without a metronome. Now I know your band directors are always telling you to practice with a metronome, but it's not enough to just put the metronome on and ignore it. We really want to be working on internalizing the beat. So there are some different things you could do. You could set it to click every other beat, and then you're responsible for internalizing the other beats. You could turn it to click on the and of the beat, so you're responsible for subdividing and knowing where the downbeat is. And then it is also important to practice without a metronome and make sure through your recording of yourself play that you are keeping an even, steady tempo when you don't have the metronome with you. Third, it's important to have an agenda for your practice sessions. We don't want to just be sitting down and aimlessly play through the excerpts. We want to have a goal in mind, or maybe 2 or 3 goals in mind. They could be, I want to make this section faster, or I want to work on the legato between these intervals. But having a goal will help you be more productive in your practicing. And then last thing, make sure you divide your practicing into short sessions and you take breaks. Lots of times we don't have the endurance to just practice for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours straight. We need to take breaks in there. And the reason we need to take breaks is because when we don't have the endurance, we start to build up bad habits. Taking breaks after every half hour, even if it's just a 5-minute break, will let your muscles and your brain, everything relax. And then when you come back, you'll be fresh and ready to start again with your good habits. I hope this video has been helpful for you as you prepare your All-State audition excerpts. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at abby.lloyd@tamu.edu. Questions, comments, send them my way. And if you want to have a virtual lesson, I'd be up for that too. So send me a message and we can work something out. Thank you for watching.